Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Play Final Fantasy Mystic Quest. In the last part we started off the game and revived the first crystal, and that caused all the ground and trees around here to actually get revived and turn green. And now we need to head back to Foresta because we also got the elixir from Tristan at the end of the part, so we can go and help Kaylee finally. Hurry and give Kaylee the medicine. Wow, Hurley, that's a new one. Benjamin, is it really you? Here's the elixir. Thank you. Now I can visit Spencer and Aquaria. Why don't I go to Aquaria first and look around? Where is it? It's to the focus tower and to the northeast. Alright, so we got our next objective in mind. It's also due to this that we're going to start seeing the structure of the game be more apparent. But now let's talk to the people of Foresta and blow them up apparently. Sorry about that, kid. Look, I'm a little girl again. Yeah, I don't know why the Crystal of Earth's power being drained turned some of the kids into like 80-year-olds, but it did. Thanks for saving us and the trees. I've seen some weird stuff in my RPG days. That's up there. Go save the crystals. Alright, fine. I want to hear Mac's stories again. Hey, you'll be waiting a bit. One thing I should note is that in the case you ever want to use an inn, Foresta's inn, from what I recall, is always free. However, you have to really come out of your way to come back here later on. It's not like, say, Super Mario RPG, where once you get to the world map, it takes, like, not even 2 minutes to get back to one of the earlier free inns in the game. It can take quite a few minutes to get here later on, so it's not really worth coming back. Thankfully, money isn't much of an issue in this game. In fact, purchases are very limited. But it's worth noting that all the same. With that, let's head back to the world map and continue on towards the focus tower. I say continue on because there's one thing we have in our way first. As you can see to the east of the Sand Temple, we have one more battlefield. Battlefields more or less tend to use whatever enemies are available throughout the region, by the way. Usually, there'll be enemies more relative to the previous area you were at or the next one. I think there's only maybe one battlefield in the game that has an exclusive enemy. All the other ones can usually be found in prior dungeons or even the next dungeon. Though, the next region we're going to is probably one of the more guilty with that. With that, let's enter the focus tower. And now normally you'd have to go along a pretty wide and ranging tunnel to get back here, but you can just walk through this wall. Well done, Benjamin. Remember, Captain Mac will be crucial to your quests. A girl named Phoebe can help you. But I'm going to Aquaria. Oh, maybe you'll find her along the way. You're just always gonna leave after saying vague things like that? It's kind of a dick move there, dude. Either way, this room in the temple is very important, because first off, there's explosives here. But also, there's this door. This door will only open if you grab the sand coin back in the last room of the bone dungeon. So make sure you grab that, because otherwise you have to backtrack all the way there. You'd fight some enemies along the way, which can admittedly be helpful, but yeah, you want to make sure you grab that. And here we get the fire spell. It's fire elemental damage magic. It's actually surprisingly useful. In fact, because this game doesn't have any upgrade spells like Fyra to Faraga and such, you'll be using all your elemental spells pretty much throughout the entire game. Well, that does nothing. Hello there, random girl. I'm gonna grab these explosives first. Hi. It's hopeless. I give up. Aquaria's frozen. People are sick. Grandpa is trapped. Wait, have you ever heard of a man named Spencer? Why, he's my grandpa. What luck. Let's go free him. But we can't. I'm going home. Hey, what's your name? Where are you from? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm Phoebe from Aquaria. You're Phoebe? Ah, and I'm going with you. We just joined someone we don't know, which is actually kind of a big thing in RPGs, but this is also a pretty notable case of it. Phoebe is quite the magic-ridden girl, having access to the first wizard magic spell, Thunder, and even spells like the heal magic, which will actually restore you from any status ailments. And she is also protected from ice, wind, and silence. The silence is the big reason in this case that you really want to do the environment reset. She also has a claw weapon that can cause poison, and I think that's paralysis. More or less, enemies that get stricken with status ailments don't actually show that they've been stricken with it. It'll generally just say if they're strong against it, and therefore they don't get affected by it. It's fairly standard stuff. For the most part, status ailments aren't even that useful in this game, so it's not really worth talking about. Either way, welcome to Aquaria, and I love how relaxed this music is. Every single town in the game basically uses a remix of the exact same melody. And it's a good melody, though my favorite version of the song isn't until probably next part. The ice doesn't melt even when heated. That's a pretty bad thing. Though it's because of this, we're actually going to have something interesting to talk about later this part in regards to a lot of the towns in this game from this point onwards. Why are you up here, little boy? The cold air made Grandma sick. Ow. Why are you up here then? You can actually try to leave where that waterfall is frozen, and it actually makes you look like you have a beard, but there's no real point to that even later on, I think, aside from maybe a little shortcut. The monster in the ice pyramid makes itself invisible. That sounds strange. So Phoebe, where's Spencer trapped? In the tunnel he was digging under here. The dirt is frozen solid so he can't get out. Can't we melt it? Not until we get wake water from the Spring of Life. But a monster in the wintry cave stole the Libra crest, which warps us from the Libra temple to the Life temple. Anyway, first we have to get that whatchamacallit crest back, right? Right, to the wintry cave. Alright, cool, but we can at least get some heal potions here in Phoebe's house. And heal potions, honestly, are probably the more useful use item in the game. Mostly just because there are a lot of enemies that can inflict status ailments, and unlike some RPGs, status ailments very often last after battle. They won't affect you in the field, but it's annoying to have them transfer from one battle to the next. A monster in the ice pyramid up north is draining the power of the crystal of water. Yeah, that's my end goal, at least. How about buying my steel helmet for 200 GP? Sure. I hope you're happy with the steel helm. In a couple towns in the game, you can actually buy equipment pieces from some citizens. The steel helm is just a defense upgrade. I think it also might influence your accuracy or something, but it's not really worth noting. Also, apparently the magic mirror can reflect the image of monsters. That is going to be important later on, because admittedly, something I do like that this game kind of does is that because there's so few NPCs in it, almost every single one of them says something at least somewhat important. But at the same time, I kind of like when NPCs just kind of have lackadaisical dialogue reflecting their own lives. It makes sense for a lot of them to be talking about their life situation, but some of them would probably just be talking about, hey, did you hear about Bill getting that good pizza over there on the west side of town? Yeah, good shit, man. Either way, now it's time for us to finally go through all the battlefields that there are available to us right now. Here at the start of Aquaria region, there are 4 available to us, so let's get some battles out of the way. First enemy for the part is a mint 160 HP, 117 XP, 3 gold. No real weaknesses, but be warned, they can confuse you, and I think almost every single battle in this particular battlefield is just mints. Because if I recall the recording correctly, all 10 was just against 1 to 2 of these things. Means you don't have to worry about too much overall because, well, they're pathetic, but still watch out for them. And now let's head after the next one. Oh, more mints. Oh, my favorite. How could you? Thank you. It's amazing. Easy experience points, though. It's less experience points because I think they actually give the least out of any of the enemies in these battlefields. And if I'm recalling correctly, we're immediately led into our next enemy, the Giant Toads. 180 HP, 114 EXP, 3 gold, no weaknesses as far as I can recall. But they can poison and paralyze you, so they actually have some stats ailments that can go your way. A particularly nasty thing that can happen, I believe, is, I want to say I think both of our characters right now are susceptible to paralysis, which is really nasty as it is. But if they paralyze you and then poison you, you're just slowly getting killed no matter what. And we end off with some of them because, yeah. The main reason I end up showing those particular 3 types of battles within any given battlefield is because the first one is just to show that I've started it. New enemies along the way are useful to show because they might make the next area shorter, and the final battle is mostly because you get the reward in those battles. Speaking of battles, next enemy is a Scorpion, 210 HP, 129 EXP, 3 gold. Weak to fire, so that's pretty good to throw out at them. They can poison you though, so watch out for that. I don't think they can do any other status ailments from the top of my head. And later on, we just eventually fight more giant toads and mint-mints. Mint-mints, I think, are present in all 3 of these prior battlefields. I think it might even be in the next one, but I honestly forget. Because if there's one thing I've never been entirely good at remembering, it's the full enemy pool that can be selected out of any given battlefield. It's enemies exclusively found within that region, I know that. But I think, I can never remember which one has exactly what. Like, I know, in this case, we have scorpions, and the first one has crazy plants or whatever, but it's weird for me to remember. Either way, now we get the magic ring, which prevents us from being silenced, which is really, really useful, because magic is just that good. And, of course, we have one more battlefield, and it has Shadow the Hedgehog in it. Hedgehogs, though, have 220 HP, 135 EXP, 3 gold. No real weak... Actually, no, wait, no, they're weak against fire. I almost forgot about that, they're weak against fire. And I think they can both blind and paralyze you, which is potentially annoying. Also, something I haven't quite mentioned yet is that I love this game's battle theme. The soundtrack on the whole is the best part of the game, as I think I've talked about briefly before. But the music in battles is just delicious. Kind of reminds me of this old comment I recall seeing on YouTube some years back on I think it was the final boss theme, that said, it was some guy with a picture of Quickman, basically saying, you know, this game wasn't that good, but they made sure to put all their effort into the music. And you know what? He was right. Either way, welcome to the Wintry Cave, which has a lot of enemies for us, all of which we've more or less seen before with maybe 2 exceptions, just because we fought them all on the battlefield. The immediate exception, though, is this guy. This is the Landworm, very different from the Sandworm. 265 HP, 144 EXP, 6 gold. Weak against Earth, so Quake is pretty useful here, as well as Axe-type attacks, which is just better to use overall. And they can use Quake against you, which can do some decent damage against your entire party. Yeah, that's a decent chunk of our health right now. I think they also have an ability called Quicksand, which is a similar attack, except it targets one person, and it can decrease their speed, which, speed isn't the most useful in this game, admittedly. But, any kind of stat difference will make any difference in this, a major difference in the battles in this game, so it's not... You don't want it to happen to you, more accurately. That's the best way to phrase it. Because stats are weird in this game, particularly speed, in that you're not really guaranteed to go before something until you're around 10, I think within 10 speed of something's speed stat. But that's just so little, it's not really worth caring about. This claw saved me. Here's how to use it. Select the claw and hold down the A button and press the control pad. Now it's yours. And we get the cat claw. And she switches to a bow and arrow. The cat claw is a really good weapon in that it raises our magic a good bit. Plus it has some status ailments on it, which are going to be used, well, I guess they could be useful to inflict if they actually mattered. So essentially, because this has an extra magic stat, something you're going to see me doing from now on is pretty often, is if I want to particularly cast spells on enemies, I'll actually actively equip the magic claw. And she also switches to the Bow of Grace, that's what it is. A pretty powerful weapon, you don't have to worry about running out of arrows. Plus, it can blind enemies, which is, I guess, a thing. But now it's time for our next enemy, the Centaur. 230 HP, 123 EXP, 6 gold. I think they can confuse you, but that's about it. They don't have any weaknesses. I think they're immune to sleep and confusion in particular, but yeah, nothing too interesting, pretty vanilla. Which is most of the game, I realize, but eh. One thing I do have to give this game credit on, though, is that I think it actually has some pretty decent dungeon design, because there are, compared to a certain PlayStation 3, Xbox 360 Final Fantasy game that takes place after 12, numbered after 12, actually has some alternate paths worth a damn, because you can find some items you might need. There's back and forth in dungeons that is not just one ongoing pathway. I like that. Either way, next enemy is the Sparna, 260 HP, 153 EXP, 6 gold. They have an iron nail attack that can lower your defense. They're resistant to earth, not immune to it, but they are weak to shoot type attacks. And next up is the land turtle, 270 HP, 144 EXP, 6 gold. Weak against something we don't have yet, but they are also weak against axes and they're immune to paralysis. They can paralyze you though, so watch out for that. However, an axe will more than likely take them out in one shot at this point in the game. I say at this point, but it does depend on whether or not you've done the battlefields, because the battlefields are a very integral part of just getting a good level throughout the game. Yeah, you could just go through the standard areas, but you'll likely be under-leveled for a decent chunk of the game if you do that, so do that at your own risk. Speedruns probably do that, but yeah, I don't want to. But now, since I've said speedrun, I'm curious. Speedrun.com, Final Fantasy Mystic Quest. RPG speedruns are always interesting to me just because they take games that are overall fairly substantial in size and just shrink them so much. Like, I forget what GDQ it was. I want to say it was an SGDQ. No, or was it AGDQ? Either way, it was like a year or two ago at this point where 3 guys just sat down on a couch and marathon the entirety of Final Fantasy VII in like 12 hours. And that, not only is that time just ridiculous to me, but they were really engaging as speedrunners to me. Just because they kept things very simple and explained while also making a good amount of jokes and interacting with the crowd, quote unquote, that it felt right. Admittedly, one thing I also was tempted to do in this game when it came to the editing was I was actually tempted to just edit out all, like, a mass of battles at once, like enter one fight, but then fight all the ones that aren't new encounters off-screen. But then I realized that's just not my style, really. I'm very go-as-you-go kind of thing. And it's notable that this is kind of an annoying way to edit in its own way, because compared to some other Final Fantasy games, the proximity of some of the random encounters here is actually making my editor's video player lag a little bit whenever I have quite a few battles right after each other like this. Either way, at the end of the path here awaits the boss for the area, the Squidite. 2500 HP, 219 EXP, 6 gold. Resistant to earth, and this actually has some pretty devastating attacks. 6 pseudopods, which I think does upwards of 6 hits worth of damage at you, which can be pretty bad. Electropulse, which lowers your magic power. And blackness, which will blind you if it hits you. Main strategy here comes down to Ben using his fire spell on the Sparnas just so we can get them out of the way, while Phoebe uses thunder, which is probably the most damaging attack she has at this point, just to keep the damage up. And after that, we want to have Phoebe keep using the thunder spell while Benjamin switches over to bombs, just because they're the most damaging thing he has at this point. Also, I was about to bring up, I hope my commentary isn't off-sync just due to all the battles making my video editor slow down. I actually checked and started up a sub-audio thing within the recording, because that's how I tend to do things if I script speaking way too horribly. And yeah, that was the case. Without some minor editing I had to do there, I was about here in the battle with where my speech was due to all the slowdown going on. It's ridiculous. Either way, I was talking about the speedruns for Final Fantasy Mystic Quest. A quick look at speedrun.com. The world record is about 1 hour and 52 minutes, which is pretty absurd. That's fast. That's only any percent, which I guess means they don't go after things like battlefields. That must be the Libra crest. Let's take it and go to the Libra temple. There's a mark that looks just like the crest on the design of the crest. Stand on it and we'll be warped to the Life Temple. And here we get the Libra crest. And now, like with a lot of dungeons in this game, we need to walk all the way back out. Great. I'm assuming 100%, as I was saying, means they go after every single battlefield. And I can see that extending the game by about an hour, because with 100%, in the 100% category rather, the speed run's about almost 3 hours long. Either way, next new enemy is a Desert Hag, 280 HP, 168 XP, 6 gold. Weak to fire, and that's about it, really. They're not that interesting. But they're about every single enemy you fight in this place, so get used to them. I mean, I guess they might be the first enemy that has like a water/ice elemental attack because they have it's called like water gun, but it's not going to really do much against you because first off, Phoebe is resistant to water, and if it hits Ben, you have ways around healing yourself. So, yeah. Either way, let's head on over to the Libra Temple so we can actually use Libra Crest there. The crests are what you need to use these little glowing platforms you may have seen throughout the game thus far. That must be the Spring of Life. The water's dried up. It's hopeless now. Don't give up yet. There's someone inside. Let's have a look. There are more or less just ways to railroad you into doing certain things first. Aquaria's in great danger. I know that. We need wake water to melt the ice. But the wake water's dried up. It's hopeless. Hear me. All that's left of the wake water is in this bag. Take it and go back to Aquaria. Okay, thanks. So, what was the purpose of that entire side track then? Because, why not, if you're gonna have that whole fake out about the Life Temple being dead, why even have the Life Temple in the game at all? This game's story is not that good if you haven't figured it out by now. It's kind of sad. Either way, let's go and try and use that wake water down in Aquaria. I should note, I call the entire region Aquaria, but Aquaria and Forest are technically just the names of the towns. I just tend to refer to every region as the name of the area. Wake water, please save our town! That's it? I guess this town will stay frozen until the crystal water shines again. Then we'd better hurry to the ice pyramid. And now we have our next goal in mind, but notable, if you actually head here into the inn, now that we've restored that plant, we can talk to this guy here to the left of the guy who runs the inn. And he becomes our second standard shop. He'll sell cure potions at a cost of 25 per. Money, or items in this game are very inexpensive, by the way. Even inns, I think the inns are always 95 gold from this point onwards. And now, welcome to Falls Basin. Let's push this out of our way. This is a very small area that's mostly just a puzzle. A very simple puzzle at this rate. You just have to push these ice blocks into the right position so you can jump across them to wherever you're needed to go next. However, I should note, if you screw up pushing them and put them into a place where you can't retrieve them, you're not screwed, but you have to leave the area and come back in. There is an admitted benefit to that, because if you have to leave the area and re-enter, you do have to fight all the enemies again, so you get some extra experience points, but that's not really all that needed. What is needed, though, is to fight these Lamias, who you just want to use Thunder on, by the way, because they'll just kill them more quickly. They have 300 HP, 150 EXP, 6 gold. We don't have either of their actual weaknesses yet, but Thunder takes them out pretty quickly. I think they might be able to paralyze you. They can definitely put you to sleep, though. Also, I love this song. It's so chill. And no, that's not meant to be a pun. Again, I actually really like how this game's dungeons are designed, just because there's some actual back and forth and some puzzles to them. They're very basic ones, but that's what the game is supposed to be, so it fits. And occasionally, by the way, you might see me try to jump to the song of any given area. The jumping's a bit weird in this game in that it's a bit stiff. And what I mean by that is you can't jump unless you're directly on top of one of the tiles. If you're in the middle moving from one tile to another, you can't. And it makes sense in the game programming-wise. But if you're trying to like mash the jump button, it feels weird. We want to ignore this enemy here really quickly so we can go over here and get the heal spell. The heal spell is interesting if you use it on an enemy because it'll actually inflict a random status ailment. Next up, though, is our next enemy, the Snow Crab. 3,000 HP, 234 experience points, 6 gold. Weak against axes, and that's about it. In terms of interesting attack stats, I think it can paralyze you, but that's about it. Paralysis, though, is why you really want to grab that heal spell, because in the case that Phoebe gets paralyzed, you have no way to unparalyze her. And that means Benjamin's on his own to take out 3,000 HP, which is not easy. Strategy for this fight, though, you're gonna want to party target fire to kill all the hags, more or less in 1 to 2 shots. And then you're just gonna want to focus on the snow crab with thunder and the axe. That's about all you need, really. Attacking with Phoebe is also a decent option in case you run out of wizard spell charges, which at this point is very easy to do. In fact, one thing you don't entirely see me do sometimes is, in the middle of battlefield and such, leave that battlefield and actually head back to the nearest town and use an inn just to recharge my spell charges. Because wizard spells are just the best to use in battle due to their damage more often than not. You can use explosives, right? Here's how to use a jumbo bomb. Why didn't you give me this earlier? That's the second weapon you've given me, Phoebe. The hell, girl. The jumbo bomb is really powerful, though. Almost double the strength of anything else we have right now, though it does have all the other fallbacks of a bomb. It can only hit it party targets by default, and while it can never miss, the limited ammo thing might be a bit annoying to some people. You know, it's very hard to run out of bombs. And with that, we have the final new enemy for the part in this battlefield. Mages, 330 HP, 186 EXP, 6 gold. They can muffle you, which is silence. They can cure themselves if you don't kill them in one shot. They can use, I think, Blizzard on you, and they're weak to fire, but resistant to earth. I don't think they're the only enemy you can encounter in here. I think you can also encounter some of the desert hags, and maybe even some lamias. But on the whole, not too much to worry about. But with that, I'm going to need to end this off here. Thank you guys for watching, and in part 3 I'll be entering the Ice Pyramid and hopefully saving Aquaria from whatever monster is draining the power of the Crystal of Water. See you guys then.